I don't do it, guaranteed, I've done this before, hold a whole meeting and then forgot to record. So then
Oops.
I faked it and recorded it again with just myself.
Aw.
I could post something. So it's one of those things I'm paranoid about. So I want to make sure I do it and don't end up doing something crazy. So what's the forecast up your way for tomorrow?
No.
We're talking 6 to 10, 8 to 10 in the Lansing area. So
Yep.
yeah, my husband bought snow shovels this evening.
Ugh.
They've been
I thought winter was over. I was wishful thinking.
I know. My daughter walked out of her dance class. She has dance class till about 6:45. She came out in her little leotard, bare-shouldered, just walking from the door of the place into the car.
Yep.
She's so hot and sweaty. Thinking, wow, here I am thinking about snow shovels, and she's walking out in her leotard. Okay, chapter 7 is all about loans. So they're going to talk about the differences between fixed interest rate loans and variable interest rate loans. And don't worry about it. I will send you anything I put up on the screen.
Okay.
I don't want you to feel like you have to copy anything down or keep notes. I'd rather just kind of engage the conversation.
Okay.
So fixed and variable rate obviously have to do with the interest rate. Some loans, you sign them and you're going to pay 5% interest for the rest of the loan. Nobody's going to change the interest rate on you. But there's other ones that are variable rate. Kind of nice if you're signing the loan and you expect interest rates to go down, then you think, wow, when it varies, it's going to vary better. Because right now the interest rates are really high. But that's a gamble because you never quite know what they're going to do. And there's always the risk they will go up. So that's the scary part, is it possibly could go up and leaving you with a much higher interest rate loan than you expected or that you budgeted for. The other thing you'll see, and they're always in these contrast, secured and unsecured loans. And in plain English, a secured loan is they have something, the lender has something they can come take from you if you don't pay the loan. You have secured it. You have provided collateral. Whatever word you want to use, there's something they can take if you don't pay the loan. Unsecured is, nope, it's on my good name that you're giving me this loan and you trust me to pay you back. Yeah, it'll ruin my credit rating. They could probably sue me if I don't pay the loan, but there's nothing in particular that's tied to this loan. Like a mortgage is always a secured loan. They could come take your house, foreclose on it, the bank take over the house if you don't pay. Or the same thing with a car. But unsecured loans are just like a line of credit. It's on your credit rating that they will decide whether to give you that loan. They're going to talk about lots of things in your loan contract. Another way to look at the loan contract is all the fine print. And there's so much there, but the nice thing about this chapter is it talks about all the different clauses, what they're for, whether you want that clause to be in your contract or don't want that clause to be in your contract, and what it all means. Those are covered on approximately page 200 to 201. Those are great reading because it's something you can learn and use the next time you're getting a loan. Is actually take time to look at the fine print and understand it now because you've got this thing helping you translate what all those components mean. They're going to talk about home equity loans, and your homework problem deals a little with the home equity loan. So we're going to spend a little time here. That is a secured loan, meaning they can come take your house if you don't pay it. But the interest is an expense that you can take deduct on your taxes. So it has a benefit. Just like your mortgage, your interest you pay on your mortgage is something you can take off on your taxes. So if you're buying something with a home equity loan, it has that extra benefit of saving you on your taxes.
Now, is that only if you do a Schedule A, if you
Yes,
itemize?
exactly. Only if you itemize. If the interest doesn't add up to enough and the other things that you have to possibly use as deductions don't add up to enough, then you're going to be with the standard deduction. I know I've hardly talked, but I want you to jump with me, if you've got your textbook, to page 233 in your homework. The story is really easy. I just want to walk you through the math or how you're going to go about calculating it. But it makes a really good point. The very first one, this lady wants to buy a car. So we're going to help her figure out what her car payment's going to be. So the opening thing of the discussion case tells you about the car she wants to buy and her two options. She's either thinking about getting a car loan at the bank or using her home equity line of credit and using the money out of there to get the car. And we're going to help her figure out which one's better to do. So the first one says, how much is her payment going to be if she gets the car through a car loan at the local bank, and how much would it be at her with the home equity line of credit? Both are going to be for 48 months or a 4-year loan. And then number 2, how much will she save in taxes over the life of her loan if she chooses to use her home equity line of credit for financing the purchase of the new car? Yuck. Never any fun. So let's first just figure out how to figure out payments. You could use the calculator, the time value of money calculator from last time, but I have an even better calculator that I like to show you because it has a couple of cool features. So I'm going to take you out to this website called Bankrate, and I can find where I put it. Here we go. And show the screen. There we go. And literally the website is bankrate.com. Has lots of cool features. Has a whole bunch of stuff about mortgages. So later when we talk about mortgages, those will be helpful. But right now we're in automobiles. So we're going to go to the auto loan calculator. And it opens a screen that asks you all kinds of basic questions about the car. How much is she going to pay for the car? She wants a $12,000 loan for 4 years. It just happens to already be programmed with 4. If she wanted 5 years, just type a 5 in there and move on, and it will change the number of months to 60. So it has both years and months, but you don't have to enter both. So when I do 4, it will update to 48 months. And the car loan at the credit union or bank is 7%. So we need to calculate, tell it to calculate, and the monthly payment's going to show up here in this box. That's what her monthly payment will be. So it's kind of cool. And you can start playing around with, what if my loan's this long? What if I went with this number of months? But the really awesome features are down below. Have very little to do with the problem, everything to do with regular everyday life. Show amortization schedule. When I was in college, I made us do this by hand on a test one time. So I love this feature. It lists every payment.
At the bank.
Yeah. You know, this was before we brought laptops to school. The amount of the payment, so she's going to make 48 of these payments, so this spreadsheet goes on 48 lines long. But it says, here's the payment. How much of that payment is going to help pay off the loan, and how much is just interest? And, okay, after this first payment, now she's down to $11,782. And you can watch the interest pile up because they keep accumulating the interest. The next payment, she pays less interest because she's got a smaller balance. But combined, those first 2 payments now have $138 of interest. I could scroll all the way to the bottom. I don't want to drive your eyes nuts, but I'm going to go all the way to the bottom of the spreadsheet. 4 years from now, February of 2020, she'll make her last payment. And out of that last payment, only $1 of it's going to interest because her loan is such a low balance. But this is the amount of interest she's paid on the whole loan. Remember, she borrowed $12,000, but she's paying back $12,000 plus $1,793 of interest. So she's paying back a lot of money. Cool calculator. Shows you all those features. You can watch the effects, but another feature is right in the middle. You have the calculator where you put in all the information. You come down here to the middle and they'll let you play. I always tell students it's really cool to say, okay, $287, why don't we just round it to $300? Say, I can make a little bit bigger payment every month and maybe pay off my loan a little quicker. So I've done the math, and at $12.65 extra every month, we'll round it to $300. So right now, if I don't do this extra payment, I pay off my loan in February of 2020. So I'm going to apply the extra payments. Oh, how did I get to a $15,000? No, okay, I missed it just for a second there. This is going to get paid off in December of 2019. So I saved myself a couple of payments. And if I go down and look at the interest, I'll see that my interest was smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hopefully from a really pain-free or very little pain financial benefit. Then you can also say, what if every year when I get my bonus or whatever, say you get something in May every year, you plan on paying one extra payment. So you're going to do that $12 extra every time, and you're going to make one extra payment in May. So in May, you'd make your regular payment and an extra one. And you apply that. It takes a few seconds, and you've shaved it off, and now you're back in August of 2019. So your 4-year loan turned into a 3.5-year loan. Imagine doing this for a mortgage. Huge effects on the amount of interest you're paying and when the payments are going to be paid off. The calculator for a mortgage looks identical to this calculator. We would just click the mortgage tab and choose mortgage calculator, and all this stuff is the same. Of course, it stretches out to 1 million payments, but it's kind of fun to see the effects on a mortgage of choosing 15-year and 30-year. How much the payment changes, how much the interest changes, things like that. So, but back to our problem. This is what she has to pay if she gets the loan through a car loan at the bank. How would we deal with this to figure out her payment for the home equity line?
Yeah.
Well, you change the percentage to 8.5.
Yep. Otherwise, everything else is the same.
Mm-hmm.
So because it's a higher interest rate, I know this payment's going to be higher.
Yep.
So we're almost at $300. I mean, it's not a huge difference. What, $10 or something between the two? But it makes people go, well, I don't want to do that. Look at the interest rate on that. But what we're forgetting is that the interest rate is higher. But now every one of these payments we make, sorry, the amortization schedule went away. There we go. The first payment, $85 of it goes to interest, but that's $85 of tax deductions. So if she's in a tax bracket where that can save her money, it might be worth doing. So your answer to question 1 is just how much are these 2 payments?
Right.
And that's all it was asking for. Number 2 wants you to go a little bit farther. So what we're going to want to do is figure out over the life of the loan how much she's paying on one versus the other. So 48 payments of one, 48 payments of the other one. You'll know how much money she's paying out. Then you're also, sorry, I probably just messed up your screen. I'm trying to move a couple things around on mine. And to find her savings, you're going to want to figure out the taxes that she will save. I don't want to say this. Let's go to the Excel. Maybe that's going to be the best way to look at it. Oh. Share. Okay, so we would take her first payment, and excuse me, but I don't remember the exact number.
$287.35.
$87.35. Okay, thank you. And times 48. And please don't feel like you have to be an expert at Excel. You don't even have to answer this in Excel, but it's just the easiest for me to show you what we're doing. So I'm using it like a whiteboard that has math capability. So $287 times 48, and she will pay over the life of her loan $13,792.80. We're going to do the same thing for the other one.
Car loan.
The 285, and again, I don't remember exactly what it was.
$295.78.
95, that's right.
Yep, and 78.
78. Okay, so we're going to multiply it by 48. We're going to do the exact same formula again. This time she pays over $14,000. How much of that, each one of these, is principal and how much is interest? No, I can't type, but I try to fake it. I flunked typing in junior high. But with the backspace button, I can accomplish anything. Okay, we're paying off $12,000 of principal on each of these. So one of them has more interest than the other one. This one, when you subtract the two, is maybe about $1,700. This one's over $2,000 of interest. So we needed to find out how much the interest was going to be. And we'll do the same for the other one. And this amount gets taxed or saves on our taxes. And according to our story problem, she pays 25% on her federal income tax and 5.75% on her state tax. So let's add those together. 25% for one, 5.75% for the other. He's paying over 30% on her taxes. So she will save 30%. So just take the amount times the 30%. Why are you not happy? Oh, because I hit equals instead of times.
Yep.
Here we go. And the lovely Excel trying to show me it doesn't have enough space. So she's going to save $675.71 on her taxes. And that may be making it worth it for her to choose this option than this one. When you look at it, how much extra interest did you pay? I'm not asking for the exact number, but it looks like about $400. From $1,700 to $2,100, about $400 more that she's going to pay, but she'll end up saving $675 on her taxes.
It'd be cheaper for her to go with the home equity loan.
Right. And Carmen, your question is perfectly right. This only implies that she takes the tax, she takes those deductions, she does that schedule. If she doesn't do that and takes the standard deduction, then all this is thrown out and she's better to go back to the regular bank loan. Kind of dealing with a sentence about a person, you got to make some assumptions.
Okay, so you took that 2,197.44, and how did you get the 675.79?
I took the two taxes, her federal and her state, added them together, and that gave us about 30%. 30.75% is what she pays in taxes.
Uh-huh.
So that's going to be the amount of this that'll be deductible also. Okay, so it's just the amount of the interest times her taxes, and that gives her her savings.
Okay.
And believe it or not, on chapter 7, that's all you had to do.
Thank
But
God.
lots of great tips. The chapter is like the credit card chapter. There's so much good stuff to learn, not the math so much as the, hey, sometimes it's smarter to look at other things besides just the interest rate on the loan, or watch for those clauses in the loan, things that might be there that'll penalize you, or adjustable rates versus fixed rates. And when you do your group case, more than likely you're going to be giving them some advice on some of this stuff. So I'm sure there'll be more about chapter 7 that'll come out in your group study. Let's take a look at the home and automobile chapter. Chapter 8.
You didn't in the living room. Now, if I tell you again, you're going to bed.
You've got steps on page 238. They're going to walk you through some things that you need to do when you're thinking about making a big purchase like a home or an automobile. And they say to differentiate your want from your need, do your homework, make your purchase, and maintain your purchase. So there's lots more that goes into that, but they're trying to hit some big points. They've got some great checklists. $239, and there's probably going to be a few more in the chapter. But one of them is before you buy, here's all the things you ought to think about. Don't rush into anything because the price is only good today. Just lots of good words of wisdom in there. They're going to walk through those steps in each case. They first introduce the steps in the beginning of the chapter, then they take the steps and talk about them as it relates to buying a car. Then they talk about them as it relates to buying a house. And let's see. They're going to help you try to figure out what you can afford, or what a hypothetical person could afford. Let's go. Oh, lots of wonderful things to look for in a mortgage. The fact there's a homework problem I want to send us to, or looking at some types of homework problems. I have it marked as problems and activities 2, 3, and 8.
Yep.
Okay. Problem 2, you can do with that bank rate calculator. You can actually do it with the other one, the time value of money one. But since the other one's set up so much for the bank rate one, set up for automobiles. Question 2 says you're thinking of buying a $20,000 car. You were thinking about a 5-year loan, a 4-year loan, a 3-year loan. So they're having you compare the payments to see what happens to the payments under all those situations. Seem manageable?
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, use your financial calculator to compute monthly payments for a vehicle. Again, you're trying to find how much the payment is. And now they're changing the interest rates. So you're fixed in 4 years by playing with the interest rates, and watch the effect it has on your payments and how much you pay over the life of the loan. Since you're probably going to be using the bank rate calculator, I would take the time, even though it doesn't ask for it, to see the total interest paid on the loan under all these situations.
Sorry.
It's worth watching how much a decision like an extra year or a couple of points of interest how it really changes how much you pay. Okay, the next one is where I wanted to spend the time. That's number 8. That one can be horribly confusing. So, the theory is great. The calculations sometimes don't feel so great. They're having us look at all these different mortgages and seeing what could happen, because they're adjustable mortgages. To see the effect of starting out with a mortgage at one level and then having the company, the bank, adjust the mortgage every few years, and where we could end up, what would be the highest we would ever have to pay. So the story starts out with telling us that we want to get a $150,000 mortgage. And for 30 years. And of course, the rest of it changes, so we can't really, it is going to start out with a 6% initial rate. So each one of these options, we start out at 6%. But some of these will change after a few years. And we have to answer a whole bunch of questions. The first question is, what would the payment be under each of these situations? What's the current mortgage payment? So the first one says, and 2 says total interest. And 3, how much would the payment be? First adjustment. And 4, maximum payment.
One question with 4 steps. 16.
Okay, you with me so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to take you back to the bank rate calculator for a minute. I'm going to go back to the main screen of Bankrate. So if you went out here, you would want to go to mortgages. And I thought I was just clicking mortgages, but that's what I'm trying to get to, the mortgage calculator. This should look really familiar when mortgage calculator finally pops up. There we go. It should look very much like the auto loan calculator. Honestly, you could use either one for both, but we can fill in what we know. $150,000 car or a house, 30 years, and we're starting out at 6%. Tell it to calculate. So your first mortgage payment will be $899.33. And it'll stay that way till they adjust the mortgage. I wish I had an ability to split screen this a little better for you. Back of the Excel? Are you able to see the Excel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I put the current mortgage in there. Let's go down and do this one. The payment after the first adjustment. Letter A. So this is, Loan A says that they adjust the mortgage annually 1% every year. So after 1 year, what will the payment be? And how would I go about figuring that out? Any thoughts?
You have to change the interest rate from 6% to 7%, right?
Exactly. So just go in here and figure out what the payment would be at 7%. And then for maximum, you would just say, okay, what if they took my loan up to the most it can be, and it says lifetime, they can raise it 5 percentage points. Remember, it starts at 6. So that means the maximum it would be 11.
11.
Yeah. It won't be pretty, but that's what this is trying to show you is where it could go to.
Okay.
Trying to think, the interest, a couple different ways you could go about it. One, you could figure out what the interest really would be if they make all those adjustments. And the interest you'd pay in the first year, interest you'd pay in the second year. I don't think it's going to make a huge amount of difference.
This is a lot for just one question.
Yeah, that's why I want to get through as much of it as I can. I'm going to tell you to say, I'm going to have you skip it. Okay. And I will, in your answers, provide you the calculations.
Okay.
Because to really get the official answer, you would have to do 12 payments at this amount.
Mm-hmm.
And how much of those were paying in interest. And then 12 months at 7%, 12 months at 8%, and so on all the way up. I think that's a bit much to try to do all those calculations. Or you could do some kind of generalization. How about we put a number 5 in here and just say total interest at 6% and at max. So when you do the mortgage calculator, which I'm going to take you back to here, show you what I mean, because I'm not really adding a whole lot to what you've got to do. Okay, so when we plug in everything, we're at 6%. Show the amortization schedule. And come down here to interest. And because this is 360 payments, I'm going to be scrolling for a while. You will pay $173,757.28 in just interest. That's in addition to paying back the $150,000.
That's more than the house.
Yes. And now, when we do that for this 5 that we're adding, what I want you to do is then figure out on this particular loan, like loan A, the max they could charge me is 11%. And if they do those increases every single year, like they said, it's going to be really soon, and it could be 11%. I mean, it's a 30-year mortgage, and you're talking the first year they could raise it, second year they could raise it. They could do that 5 times, and you still have 25 years of the mortgage to go at this whopping 11%. So you calculate that. That's going to give you your payment, which, of course, is going to jump in a big amount. And you come down to see the total interest.
Holy cow.
That interest number as I'm scrolling by it, but it's not pretty. So in addition to paying for the house, now you're paying $364,000 of interest. Yeah. It's amazing.
No wonder people rent apartments.
Exactly. Now, I'm going to show you a couple things that have nothing to do with the problem, just because I think it's fun to kind of see. Let's come back to our 6%. And remember when we did that, our payment was $899, basically $900.
Yep.
If I cut the mortgage in half and say, I am really going to push it, I'm going to pay this thing off in 15 years. That's all my payment jumps. I mean, it's a lot.
Wow.
But it doesn't jump as much as 11% jumped it. So shaving half the life of the mortgage off.
Yeah, I want to see the interest.
Amortization schedule. And let's look what the interest does there. Now you're only paying $77,000 in interest.
Holy smokes.
So even if you're sitting at a 30-year mortgage, you can do things to that calculator, going out to this website and saying, what if I pay $200 extra every month? Or what if I kick in every time I get a bonus? And what would it do? And just keep watching when you pay it off, how that moves, and what happens to the interest. It's kind of a motivator to want you to do it. Because sometimes with a big, long mortgage, you feel like, oh, even if I do a little extra, it's still going to go on forever until I'm 95 years old. Okay. So on these loans, we are going to...
So can you do the first adjustment?
Sure, the first
We gotta do that.
we are just going to go to the calculator and put in 7%. And 30 years, and I know I'm probably not on the calculator anymore for you. It takes it almost to $1,000. The first payment is $997.95. And this one was well over $1,200. No, it was more than that, wasn't it?
$1,428.49.
And that's with that loan, with those terms.
Wow.
So look at loan B and see. Loan B says it's going to be fixed for 3 years, so they can't mess with this. This will be the first payment, and it'll last for 3 years. But after that, they can adjust it every year by 2%. So when they make the first jump, it will jump to what percent?
8.
8. So when you do this one, just change it to 8, and the maximum payment will still be 11. So your maximum payment would still be that. There's technically a little, it's pretty much what I would do. Loan C has the benefit of it's locked in for 5 years where they won't change that first payment. But then they can adjust it by 2%, and they can take it up by 6%. So that max will be different.
I have a question, Donna. So if it's fixed for the first 3 years and we keep the 30 years in there, are we getting accurate numbers, or should we change that to like 27 when we adjust the rate?
You probably could change it. I don't think it's going to change it enough to make it worth the headache of trying to do all that. Because honestly, then if you change the years to 27, you should probably drop the mortgage amount to the balance left to go on the mortgage after the 3 years or 5 years or whatever we're paying that 6% rate. So I just said, yeah, close enough to just kind of change those rates.
30.
Yeah.
Okay. So just use the 30 and just increase the amounts based on A, B, C, and D, and then the lifetime caps that you want us to do.
Yep. And when you do it, when you do the max, take a look at what the interest is. And when you do the original, of course, the original will be the same number every time. So just kind of looking at how big a change in the interest is it going to be by their adjustments. And of course, C and D have a 6% cap. So they're going to go up to 12%. That's the worst that can happen on that loan. It's nice that they wait a little while to do it. C and D wait 5 years before they mess around with the mortgage. But still, you don't really want the interest rate going up.
So for like, say, D, we would do the first adjustment is going to be, the first adjustment is going to be 9%.
Right. It's going to jump all the way from 6 to 9.
And then the last one is going to be 12% for the max.
And you would have already figured out 12% in loan C.
And then you want us to figure out the total interest at 6 and the max every time.
Yeah, and well, that you're going to figure it out a couple of times because 6 is going to be the case in every one of them, and the max is either 11 or 12.
Okay. All right.
Doing okay, ladies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What did I-
Part 3 is the insurance parts, and they're going to talk about in Chapter 9, life and health insurance. And here you're in a discussion case, and if I remember right, you're going to be looking at helping them figure out how much life insurance they should buy. And okay, yes, there is a worksheet. And if you're with me in the book, page 330, scroll down here a little bit, chapter 9, and discussion case 2, pages 330 and 331, need worksheet 12. So give me a second. I'm going to pull up worksheet 12. And okay, able to see it?
Yep.
All this worksheet's supposed to do is help you figure out if you're covered enough. Estimating life insurance. So you're supposed to think about what funds will I need immediately just to deal with the death. Having the funeral, paying taxes like estate taxes. All those things are just going to hit you right away. And then having enough money so the survivor, your spouse, your kids, whoever, can pay off the debts. So if you're, most of these are thinking about, it's Wendy and Frank, and I think they're trying to think, if Frank passes away, would Wendy have enough to get herself debt-free? And then what if she has to go back to work? She might have to go to school. She'll have to have child care, because I think the story goes she stays home with the kids. So there's all these expenses that'll all of a sudden be in her budget. And then they'll just have the day-to-day living. What are their normal everyday expenses that they normally incur just to keep, buy groceries, pay for things? The next says, well, but there'll be one less person. Frank won't be alive, so he won't eat groceries. I know it sounds bad, but that's what they're trying to say. And then, okay, but she will make some money, so we don't need that coming in life insurance completely. She'll get the Social Security benefits. There is some pension money she'll get. But if that's not enough, then it's got to be insurance.
Mm.
Yeah. So there's a page 2. He's trying to blow it up big enough to see. And then you got to figure out what it's going to take. How long is she going to need help from the life insurance money? And what are the kids going to need for education? What will cover her for retirement? And so on. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. I will send you a few key figures along the way, especially when it comes into these time value of money things, because they're trying to figure out if she needs so much money over such and such a period of time, but she doesn't need it for 20 years, how much does that mean it needs to be today? Lots of time value of money calculations. I will send you those. So try to fill in the ones you do know from what they're telling you. And I will send you ones, and I'll give you a couple check figures to say, like, by the time you get to line HH, your number should be this, so that you get some idea of if you're on the right track. And I'll tell you the numbers to fill in some of the boxes that involve a lot of the time value of money calculations. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay. Property and liability insurance, Chapter 10. This one has a lot of great tips about what to look for in your coverage. How automobile insurance is covered, what different parts of the coverage are there, what all the different limits mean. So lots of great advice in that chapter. And they also talk about homeowners insurance and what types of homeowners insurance there are. And I'm trying to find the page because I seem to have flipped right past it. There we go. Page 335 is one that's important for looking at homeowners insurance, and I believe that your homework problem asks you, like, what kind of insurance should they buy? So if you're with me, 334, 335 talk about all these different homeowners. That's where they all start with HO insurance. The very first one, HO1, is so basic that it's not even sold in all states. In other words, some view it as like a ripoff, that it doesn't have enough coverage that it'll only end up making people feel like they get ripped off by the insurance company. HO2 is called a broad form insurance. And then right after that is something that says a named perils form of insurance. I'm going to go back to our Excel spreadsheet so I can make some notes. And in chapter 10, pages 334 and 335, HO2, named perils. What that means is if it isn't listed in the policy, sorry for the typing, it's not covered. So if it's not listed in the list or named, like this insurance specifically covers fires. It specifically covers lightning strikes, whatever. If it doesn't list the thing that happened to you, then it's not going to pay you for whatever damage you had because of that. In contrast, when you go over to HO3, this is kind of the opposite. HO3 will cover everything except, and they will list specific things in the policy that say, we do not cover this, this, and this. So as long as the thing that happened to you is not specifically listed as not covered, then it's covered. Kind of twisted and hard to understand in a way, but you can see that HO3 covers a lot more. You've got a lot more safety. You know that if it doesn't specifically say in your policy, this thing's not covered, then it's covered. And some of the things that are typically excluded are floods, earthquakes, war, nuclear accidents. Depending on where you live, some things are more covered than others. And then the others get into specifics. HO4 is just for renters. HO6 is just for condominiums, and so on. But the typicals are 2 and 3. So when you do your own insurance analysis, it might be worth it to look and see which kind do you have and what's not covered in my policy. And are you happy with what's not covered? Okay, I feel pretty good about what's covered. Or, ooh, I didn't know if that happened to me, I wouldn't be covered. They're going to talk about some of the coverages and some of the things you can do to protect from those additional perils. You can add it to your insurance for extra money. You can get some of those excluded things covered. So look at the pages that talk about the how much coverage and if something were to happen and your TV got damaged, your furniture got damaged, how will they decide how much money to give you for that? How does the policy figure that out? Is it current replacement value? Is it the depreciation considered into it? Is it a brand new one? How does it figure it out? There's a great TV commercial. I can't remember the insurance agent or agency that talks about it, but the people always talk about what happened to their car and how they didn't get what they expected reimbursed and why they wish they would have had whatever insurance company. And I want to say it's Liberty because they always seem to do it in front of the Statue of Liberty, talking about their car accidents. Sorry, I'm trying to find a page 348 switches and looks at automobile coverage. It's going to talk to you about liability, medical, uninsured motorist, damage to your automobile. So all the components and the recommended levels of coverage. So you'll have a better handle on what kind of coverage, what those things cover, and some of the ways that you can save money. And that's on page 350. Discounts you can get for this or that. You're accident free, you have multiple automobiles and so on. And there probably is a saving money tip one on home insurance too. Having smoke detectors and so on will help you reduce your costs. Not a lot of math and problems in this. This is more like the credit card chapters, understanding the elements of the policy. This will really help on your 2-page paper about your insurance coverage. You'll be able to look at what they suggest and then compare them to your policy. You may conclude you're covered just perfectly for the way you need to be. You may find some things in here that you say, yeah, I think I need to tweak my policies. And you can write about how your future plan is to change your insurance coverage to include this or that. Okay. That's pretty much what I had for tonight. I will take some time and find you those key things for worksheet 12 and get those out to you in the next 24 hours.
Okay.
And get you out this spreadsheet right away. Believe it or not, it takes a long time for this video to download, for me to download our meeting that's been recorded and then upload it to YouTube. It takes probably a couple of hours. So the recording of tonight's meeting may not be till the wee hours of the night before it's available. But I'll put it out at an announcement with this Excel spreadsheet when it's ready.
Great.
Okay? Keep in touch. I know you're dealing with a lot. The group projects, let me know how they're going. I would be happy to sit down with your group and do something like this if you want to do it. Get everybody together and talk about the components and then send everybody on their way to do a piece of it.
We haven't heard from everybody in our group yet.
I will send you some updates if I've heard anything from different people. But when you turn them in, I want to know the names of who participated. Some, I think, just needed to be reminded that this is stuff they needed to do. But others, I think, are maybe thinking they can get away with not participating, or they didn't understand they needed to participate, or they're dropping the class and it's just too much to juggle. We need to find out what the reason is and get some strain off of you guys so that you're not doing all the work. If you've assigned them something and they didn't do it, don't feel like you need to jump in and do it for them. Just say, questions such and such and such and such were given to Susie Smith, and she didn't do them, so we're turning it in without her part. Okay? If she was supposed to do something that, like some of the problems are, Susie does her part, and then I can take it from there and do the next part, but I need the numbers she computed in the first part, then talk to me and we can work on those. Okay, so that doesn't hold you up from moving on.
Okay.
Okay. So most important thing, stay in touch. Okay. Have a good night. Hopefully your snow won't get too unbearable tomorrow. My son texted me and said church is already canceled for tomorrow night.
Wow.
There's a lot of
What?
elderly people in a small church, so pastor doesn't want them out on the roads, which I understand.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully it won't turn out to be one of those 1 inch of snow and a lot of rain and everybody feels silly, but
Right.
okay. Take care.
Well,
Have a
thank
good
you.
evening.